is waiting on fries. That you don't get it? You don't. What do you mean you don't get waiting on fries?
Hopefully the customer never hears waiting on fries, but all this time on the entree and it's perfectly executed, and then you're like,
ready to go.
I forgot to fire the fries.
I just always use that when I forgot to put somebody's order in, and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on the fries. It's gonna be 2 more minutes. Realistically, I come back 10 minutes with the food.
Exactly. They just know that their food's not there and the server said they're still waiting on fries.
I guess we're just waiting on fries.
So last week I was talking about going to get a turkey from my cousin's butcher shop in Astoria. Yesterday I went out and actually picked up the turkey.
A fresh turkey.
A fresh turkey that was recently slaughtered from Goffle Road Farms in New Jersey. We've actually gotten product from them before.
Nice.
Through Fossil Farms.
When you say fresh turkey, you know the image where the guy has a stick that he puts over his shoulder and the little red bag that holds things and he walks around with it? I feel like when you get a freshly slaughtered turkey, it's one of those things where you just slap it over your back and you walk away with it, and it's just room temperature kind of deal.
You sound like you're describing a hobo.
That's what I was describing, yeah.
Yeah. How fresh was it? Fresh frozen or fresh?
No, fresh, never been frozen. Still had a couple of feathers that I got to pull out, but also still has a head on it. I've never seen a turkey with the head on it.
Oh,
Cool.
You got the whole deal.
Yeah.
How about feet?
Most likely, I mean, it's still wrapped up. I'm going to unpack it when I get home.
I haven't checked out its paws yet, you know?
Yeah. But anyway, so we go to pick up this turkey. He tells us when to be there. We get there, and then he says that he made a mistake and accidentally put our order on his truck to be delivered out to all the houses that are getting food from him that day. And so I'm like, all right, not a big deal. We figured we'd just kill some time while the truck came back so we could pick up our turkeys off of it. But then he calls us back like 3 minutes later saying that the truck is back, just come back to the lot, and that he would take care of us in some way that, you know, made up for the fact that we had to wait a little bit. So we get back and he hands me this bus tub full of just like extra proteins that I just get to take home now. So I got a giant leg of lamb, a bag full of beef stew meat, and a dozen cage-free eggs.
Now,
Nice.
you did
like
beef
customer
stroganoff
service.
yesterday.
I made some beef stew, yeah, because I had
Right?
a bag full of beef stew meat that I just wasn't planning on having.
Yeah, when Nooms puts the meats up, you know something's about to go down over in that household. Yeah. You see all the raw stuff. I almost never see the finished product. I just always see him getting into it, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, let me see what he wound up doing with that.
There was a plate of food at the end of it.
It was.
Yeah.
What's the
That's
name
a
of that
nice-
butcher shop?
Prince Abu's Butchery in Astoria, Queens.
In Astoria. So you're
Yeah.
taking a trip to go get your meat and turkey too.
That's a nice haul.
It is. It's super nice. Like, I wasn't expecting a leg of lamb. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with it
Did
now.
you drive down or did you take the train?
Drove down.
Because it would be weird in the train to just have
Yeah.
like a bus tub of proteins
Full of
and
meats.
a
Yeah.
full turkey. You're gonna have to gut this turkey.
I assume so, yeah.
Oh wow! You know what you should do?
What should I do?
You should use the new Instagram guide feature and make a guide of turkeys.
That's actually not a bad idea.
I think you can do that.
Like a guide of turkeys in the way of being like, hey, this is me, how to prep a turkey, how to cook a turkey.
Like
I mean,
a video masterclass of how to
If you're gonna
down
have to
break down
gut
a turkey.
it and it's got feet and the leg, I mean that's a full.
It's definitely got a head. I don't know
From
about the feet,
start
but
to
I assume it's
finish.
got feet.
You know what? I'd like to see that news. Let's get somebody to hold a camera around while you're doing all this, and we'll comprise this thing, and we'll actually make this is how to do your turkey, and we'll get it launched like right before Turkey Day, maybe.
I think this is a beautiful idea, but I can't guarantee it's going to happen because I'm going to break down this turkey when I get home.
Have you used the guides yet?
I have not.
So let's talk about the guides, because Instagram just launched this thing literally a few days ago. And I know people out there are saying, what the hell is this guides thing? They just changed the way the whole app works. Instagram was actually very smart when they released shops, which we'll also talk about in a second.
All over the shops.
But they replaced the button for shops exactly where the engagement area is, where you click the what happened recently on my feed.
yeah.
Honestly, it's a little annoying.
So it's smart
It's
because
a little annoying, but it was definitely done on purpose.
Correct.
They
Everyone
wanted
just
to enter
clicked
the
it.
marketplace.
Totally. So now the fact that this whole guides thing has now appeared too, what it is kind of a way to highlight either places, you could highlight products, or you could highlight posts all together. And in doing this, you're saying, how would I use that for myself? And that's the first thing I asked recently is, how would you do it for yourself? How would that help you kind of move forward in things? And sure enough, of course, our buddy Kyle and Sarah, who we've talked to quite a few times, was the first person that I actually saw to utilize the guides. And what he did was he took all those awesome posts that he does anyway to help tenants find spots and things that they should be aware of. He comprised every single one of those posts, which are all very graphical also, with big words there to get your attention and see what it's about. And he took all those, comprised them all into a guide that he's called the Restaurant Reopening Playbook. So you click the guide button and you could just scroll through the entire guide to find all the posts about all the questions that you have when it comes time to going into a space, which was really cool to see because I haven't seen anybody use this. But I know, Just, you've kind of started looking at things and we're getting some ideas on how these would work well. And the one thing with the engagement rates that Instagram does do is it rewards you for using something early and preliminary before other people are using it because they want to propel their product that they've just used. So while everybody else is just figuring out how to use these things, Instagram is pushing you forward as long as you're utilizing them and you're really taking a grasp of them and people are engaging with them as well. So look at, for example,
And I'm pretty sure your reach and stuff goes up if you're buying into their new stuff.
Yeah,
as
that
soon
makes
as
sense. It's
as
a
soon as
reward.
you hit up a shops or something like that, they're like, okay, this account is engaging all our new features. Let's get them in front of more people so more people see the features,
Right.
etc.
And take for example, you're doing a lot of cooking in the kitchen. You're always getting fresh beef and, whatever it is from the butcher shops that are out there. You could essentially comprise a guide of places that show all the local butcher shops all around.
And what
that
to
way
get
people
from
go, oh, let's see where Nooms is shopping now and checking out these places.
That's actually a great idea.
That's a really cool idea.
Double N, though, this could work with accounts that we have yet to speak to, but we will in the future, like Hey Stanford. They could pretty much organize a bar crawl utilizing recommendations of places and just putting them in order with a timestamp to them as far as when we're supposed to hit whatever bar it is and continue moving around. Obviously, we have a lot of time to wait for that.
Where were you yesterday? I could have gotten this started.
I was doing work and
well,
research.
you have the content. You can
Yeah,
just
but I
put
didn't
it-
know this guides thing existed until this morning.
Yeah, so sure enough, these ways keep opening up, and these are potentially another line item on the I have to tend to this today because, again, if you're not using it, Instagram's not letting you move forward much further. For instance...
Same thing with the Reels.
Exactly, and I went gung-ho on our Waiting on Fries Instagram account over the last week, and sure enough, the engagement rates are up like 700%.
Although
Which
the
is-
Reels are still inferior to TikTok for that content form.
The Reels are still inferior to TikTok
Sure.
in that time. Yes, okay.
For that specific form of content.
Now, shun
I'd agree
me,
with
obviously, because I have yet to really open up TikTok. I downloaded that one time when you shunned me last time, and then I opened it for a little bit, and I couldn't.
I started scrolling through it at work.
can't get
It's
there.
like it's very convenient to get into something on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like super convenient. There's this guy who like goes out and forages mushrooms, so you just watch him in his life hunting mushrooms.
The problem with TikTok is you get lost in there a little bit.
So-
because the videos start playing, you don't have to click anything.
Yeah.
It just keeps on going.
And you've been
Super
using the
addictive.
TikTok, though, for...
It's
just
just
the TikTok. I
The
sound like my
user
grandfather.
friendliness of it and the
The ease
things that you
of-
can do on TikTok is a lot quicker and easier than Instagram. Still kind of, I don't know, barbaric on the Reels, I guess.
A little
And they don't
clunky.
have as many features,
With that,
editing features.
what are the types of things that you're posting up on there with Smokehouse?
I was doing all the crazy trends for a little bit, trying to catch on something, but more recently it's just Mike slicing meat.
Is there somebody on your
You know what? Not
staff?
for nothing. I see those pop up more and more
Yeah.
on my Explore on Instagram.
People like Mike slicing meat.
Yeah.
That's a fetish thing, I think, right? But is
No
there
kink
somebody
shaming.
on your staff that's maybe more able to conquer the TikTok side of things and really just like
No, I'm the best.
want to grab? Okay, never mind. Sorry. And
I'm like the
also-
oldest guy there, but clearly younger than everybody mentally as far as this. But none of them are even on. I'm the only one on TikTok.
Isn't that like a weird sign though? To me, I can't grasp it. I can't get into it for
I
whatever
think
reason.
it just shows your like mental flexibility
Yeah.
in a way that most other people just don't have.
Well, also as a
In other
business
words-
owner, you have to like push through these things too.
Yeah, but in other words, I'm awesome
Also
There you go.
recently,
and humble.
Not so much.
Twitter also just added stories to their platform,
Yeah.
which is interesting enough too, because I didn't open Twitter in like 4
fleets.
days. Is that what?
They're calling it fleets.
What?
Fleets?
A fleet.
So like a quick tweet.
A quick tweet. It's a
fleeting
story
tweet, a fleeting tweet.
A fleeting tweet.
You have the Smokehouse Twitter account also.
Yes.
You're not using it as openly, I guess, as some of the other platforms, though.
No, we're
You know,
definitely
frequently.
least frequent on Twitter.
but it's there.
It's usually Twitter is just kind of connected to Instagram.
Yeah.
So when we post Instagram, it posts to Twitter. So it's
There's no
the same
original content going to Twitter.
Yeah, I rarely. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, you know what? I should tweet back and forth, people. But that's definitely the media that loses my attention.
Yeah, it's always been hard for me to get into Twitter actively.
Well, importantly enough, too, though, the fact is, it's not really catching steam in your specific area of business, maybe, and nonetheless, you're still posting to it because why not? You're
Right.
already posting anyway.
Eyes
Just
are
click the
eyes.
button.
Yeah.
And
It's free.
yeah, I can't see, or I don't understand how some people do use Twitter. They have finance Twitter out there. You could find anything on stocks that are out there.
There's a lot of different kinds of Twitter.
And that's really cool. I'm sure there's cooking Twitter out there. There's not really a whole bar Twitter out there. I've checked that. It doesn't really exist. But when Twitter first came out, it was just people being like, I just took a shower.
Yeah.
And that had zero use to it. And then when Instagram came over and took over, it really said, oh, photos are a beautiful thing. Keep looking at it. Let's keep promoting them forward.
Instagram doesn't own Twitter.
No, correct. But I'm saying
You're saying
Instagram,
Instagram.
they beat
Instagram
their whole
took over
styles
the
up.
Twitter sphere.
And Justin, what you've just recently done now back into Instagram, they've done so many releases all week. You just did shops.
Yeah, shops were around, but now it seems to be more readily available for everybody to use, which almost competes. It really puts them into the competition as an e-commerce website. Now you almost don't even need a website because you can do pretty
You can
much
do it all from
everything.
the
You
Twitter-
can,
from the
if
Instagram?
you're a small retailer or manufacturer, it's more valuable to be able to just put a picture of something with a tag on it. And someone sees it, oh, I like that, and you touch it, and it brings you right to the purchase, right? And that's
Yeah.
more valuable than saying, check out our website, check out our catalog.
Link in bio goes to the
Link in
website,
bio,
then you have to
blah,
start
blah, blah,
all
and
over
then you
again
have all
looking
the
for your
steps.
product.
Because we want the least amount of friction from point A to
Least amount of
wherever
steps.
your goal is, right? So if you can just, if someone sees something, I like that, and you touch it, and you bring it to where you buy it, that's I don't know why you would even have a website.
What you have to work on is getting a picture of a burger will lead right to a delivery link, you know?
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'm in the car on the way here. I was trying to figure out how to link to specific items on our order online
Yeah.
because the food one is a little different. But
Is there a way to link like your mobile bytes to your Instagram so that your mobile bytes account can order from Instagram?
no, because we were trying. Like that's our Mobile Bites is our POS company.
Yeah.
And for the order food, if you notice on Instagram, you have view shop,
Yep.
order food, blah blah blah. If you go to whatever, the order food button, they have partnerships with
Like delivery programs.
Yeah, with Uber and Grubhub and etc.
Right.
So they only list those partner programs.
I see.
So our order food forces
the
us to
mobile
put you to Grubhub,
Oh, okay.
which kind of sucks because now I'm getting someone who found us organically, came
Having to
to
use a
our
third-party
Instagram, and now I'm sending them to a third party to purchase something from me. So that kind of sucks. But I'm pretty sure they paid good money to Instagram to be like a partnered link. Because our POS company is not a partner. I've tried to load it in there and it says, you have to be a partnered link, etc. And I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of money behind being a partnered link.
Well, through all the history of everything tech, there's always these gateways that exist, and they become the gatekeepers. And for anybody that's not partnering with Instagram on this, say Mobile Bytes, maybe just because they're not big enough yet to that point where they've sought that out or figured out how to do it, especially in early testing phases like this, if you want to go that route, you're going to be stuck doing, whatever they have available to you
Yeah.
at the moment. And
They have the biggest
designed it
market
that
share,
way.
so you're kind of stuck that way. you
Correct.
know?
3 years ago, I believe Instagram, it was announced that shops were going to happen. And I remember the stock price of Shopify took a pretty big dip for a while because they said, oh, there's more competition coming into the market.
But they're partnered now. So with the shops, like you can use Shopify to link to your shops.
Oh, because if you're using Shopify, yeah, okay.
That's
I
your,
mean, that
that's
makes,
your commerce.
That makes sense. So then your shop then links to what?
It links to our website. Our
Just directly to the commerce side of your website.
So that our shop right now, all we have is our merch stuff up, like
Yep.
the sweatshirts and hats
The rub.
and whatever, and the rub and the tailgate rub, because that's all stuff that we could ship pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the food up because it's a much smaller thing, and the food is not on our website. It's on our order
Ordering
online.
platform.
Goes into our POS. It's all integrated
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
The
So,
evolution of e-commerce sales is kind of crazy when you look at it as well. And, spending a lot of time in that area selling streetwear in some of my younger years through e-commerce. At first, it was just take a picture of the clothing, hang it up, crop it out, white background, whatever it is, and people will just click it and buy it. And now you're looking at people that are looking strictly for the lifestyle photos. They want to see it being worn. They want to see what it looks like on.
Right.
And that's really where that button to shop comes in, I think, with Instagram, where they say, oh, that's my figure. That would probably look good on me. And they're more willing to take a chance at buying something. And furthermore, say you've got these beanies and you've got, the sweatshirts for Smokehouse or whatever it is your restaurant is. If you were taking the photos of, your employees wearing them, maybe they're having a beer after work or something like that, you're kind of selling the product inadvertently because people are looking at it and saying, that's something
that's
I do.
exactly what it is. It's in real life scenario. It's not just the Gap and showing you a picture of the shirt or whatever on a flat thing. It's showing it in use. And also the other part of shops is just the convenience of it and the immediacy of the purchase. It's subconsciously, you want to get someone to purchase something before
Without
they
even
can
having
talk
to-
themselves out of it.
Yeah, without
right?
even having to have that like internal conversation.
Exactly. And the way your phones work now is most people have all your payment information on your phone already, and you basically click that. Oh, I see that sweatshirt. View product, click. Oh yeah, I like it. Buy, and it's automatic. Like your phone did it. You don't have to enter your payment information. It's so not on your mind, the actual financial part of it, that ease of but as soon as you take a couple steps, like go to the website, each step is another stop in your mind of, do I really want this? Do I really want that? And eventually, if you ask that question too many times, you don't really want it.
Yeah.
But the immediacy is like, oh, you clicked it, it's done already. I didn't even feel it. My phone just did it, and
now
it'll
I can
be in
just
the
wait for
mail.
it to arrive.
Yeah, it'll be in the
Yep.
mail tomorrow, and that's it.
And that's right to say that the easier something is to accomplish, the more likely somebody is going to accomplish that task or mission that you've laid out in front of them. And you see this so often where somebody just puts a hyperlink into a Instagram post, and it's not clickable. You can't click an Instagram post, not a hyperlink in one at least, and
Right.
for rightful reasons, because that would just be spam out of control eventually. But you have that little allotted area in the top of your bio area that you can put a link in that'll take you to specific spots. And I think we've discussed it before in one of the previous episodes where people use the link tree feature because maybe they want to put people to many different directions, not just one specific one. So once you click the link tree, what it does is it comprises, the 4 or 5 different links that you want to send people to, and you could highlight them with what that link specifically is. So say that, your main link is the smokehouse. You want to bring people to many different things like a menu, a shop section, and all that too. You could just utilize the link tree, and one of them could be like current menus, one of them can be cocktails, one of them can be shops, and you could guide people specifically where you want.
Maybe one of them can be ice.
Correct. And
One of them could be that brisket masterclass.
ice. I know Just wants to talk about ice today. Clear ice. I made a cocktail the other day, and by cocktail I mean I just had a little dirty gin martini. I threw it over an ice cube here, and
And then you made a claim about that ice.
well, the day before I used the crap ice that's in my fridge. Don't get me wrong, it's still a block. It's just 1.5 inch all around, 2 inch, something like that. And sure enough, that ice is not sexy at all. When you're sipping on a drink with the non-clear ice, it does something to you. It doesn't hurt you. It's just, it doesn't give you that extra oomph. So I filled up my ice tray. I met some very nice people in Greece, and by the time I got back from vacation, I had this clear ice tray at my front door, which is really nice. And when you're doing clear ice, the thing is there's impurities in the water. And with those impurities in the water, when ice freezes, the ice pushes the impurities downward and the clear ice takes the top. So what this tray is, it's a dual top and bottom mechanism, I guess you can say, with holes in the bottom. So as the ice is freezing, because it freezes from the top down, when the ice freezes, it pushes all of the impurities to the bottom. So all of the nasty, not so clear ice freezes at the bottom part, also into a chamber where I could use that as backup ice if I want. They're still in cubes. But the top ice is the nice stuff that freezes. So there's other ways to do this at home. Guys tend to use coolers. They'll fill the coolers with ice. They'll put the cooler into the freezer with the top off. That way, as it's freezing, all the impurities get pushed down in the cooler. Then what happens is you turn it upside down, preferably over the sink, because there's always going to be a section that's not frozen. And you'll knock it out of there, and you'll have a whole layer of clear ice on the top. Then you got to saw it up or cut it up with a butcher's knife or so.
It's a lot of work for some ice.
It's a lot of work.
Is it any colder?
No, it's not cold. It's ice, man. It's ice. It's frozen. It doesn't get colder.
So it's just a purely aesthetic value.
Correct. And I think that aesthetic value, and you should know this considering we've been talking about Instagram photos and
It
selling
is, I
sex
know. I just
nonstop
like,
over the course of 25
I
episodes
like to
almost.
play devil's advocate and push a little bit, but yeah,
Is that
it definitely
really the
makes a
only way you
difference.
could remove the impurities?
You could boil the water as well, but it's
That
still
seems
not
like a
going to
lot
do the
easier.
same. No, it's not the same. You still get these impurities through there. It's just,
You
it's...
could use distilled water.
Right?
This, what, the ice thing could be a pretty cool TikTok or guide thing.
to making the ice cubes?
Actually, the TikTok video would be cool, because you can go through all the steps and make like a thing or whatever, and then maybe you could do one of those time lapse videos of the ice freezing, maybe side by side with like the dirty part of the ice and the clean ice.
Can you put your GoPro in the freezer? Will it break?
It's a good question.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'd have to check the spec sheet to see if 32 degrees or whatever it is in the freezer would actually work. What's the freezer temperature? 23? It's gotta be under freezing, right?
Be 32.
Yeah.
Well, freezes at 32.
Yeah.
You know who has a killer TikTok though?
These guys, John and Morgan from the Lila Rose and Taco Daddy.
Crazy. The TikTok is out of control, and Justin brought this to my attention just like a little bit ago, where the TikTok has like 500,000 followers or something on this.
We've only got 360,000.
Oh, only.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I have a twin sister who works in branding and marketing, and she kind of saw the switch from, I guess, Musical.ly to TikTok, and how, you know, the younger demographic was really grabbing onto that, and that was something that wasn't an area we'd ventured in at all, but we've always been firm believers that, like, you know, that younger demo is going to be the next group of 21-year-olds celebrating their birthday in your restaurant. You know, they're going to be the next group of consumers. So we decided to try it out, and, you know, with our Instagram, we try and create like cool content that people like or would be interested in, something different, something you don't see all the time, especially in, you know, technically a suburb. You know, so we started playing around with a few videos, and we had one instantly that went viral. It got like 35 million views.
Is this the smoke bubble?
It is. It's the smoke bubble.
Yeah, that's where I started following you guys. Actually, I think it was on Shmesset's birthday. You guys put up a lot of stuff that night.
Yeah. I don't know, where did you find it? The smoke machine.
Oh, so that gun changed everything for us, by the way. Like, and it's such a hokey trick that we just got first. I was following this restaurant in Spain that we both love, and they had the gun, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like, I don't even know what that thing does, but that is different, and that is something that people like are gonna put eyeballs on. And we immediately, what is it? The Flavor Blaster. And so I immediately put it in order, not knowing that Anthony, who runs our cocktail program at Taco Daddy, he ordered one at the same time. And so all of a sudden we like were the first people, and no one was able to get them, because then it went on back order. So no one was able to get them for like 8 weeks. So we realized once that first video went up that we had just sort of this tool, this weapon that nobody else was going to be able to get their hands on for a couple months. And so we just blew it out. And one of the videos, Sawyer combines, you know, 2 bubbles into 1 bubble, which is just crazy, right? And then he like cuts it with like a straw or something, and it went crazy. I was driving to pick up my daughter at school, and like we were picking up like 20,000 followers every refresh. I'm like, what is going on? I called Morgan, and she's like, I don't know what's happening. And so, meanwhile, like a week prior, we had the D'Amelio girls were in here. I don't know who the D'Amelio girls are, Charlie and Dixie. I don't know anything about this, but we had some bloggers in the bar room, and I was chatting with them, and one of the girls jumps up and goes, those are the TikTok girls. And I'm like, who's a TikTok girl? Like, and
my brother is 19, so he like, you know, he was working for us at the time, and he was like, guys, like, and I was like, I don't even know what TikTok is. Like, to me, it was like not, you know, nothing like that was really on our radar. We were like so Instagram focused, and that was so much more in like our demo. And then, you know, we like, my sister had pressured us to go on TikTok, so I basically pulled a bunch of content from our Instagram stories, and she was like, you just got to be consistent. Nobody knows the algorithm. Like, nobody knows who to tag, what hashtags to use. Like, some people make fun of you for hashtags, like, yada, yada, yada. So she was like, just upload consistently. And
what was funny is that night, like, we were such shoemakers when we opened Taco Daddy. The reservations were coming on my cell phone, so we didn't even have a phone over there. So a lady had called me, and I was in the apartment putting one of the kids to bed, and she's like, hey, 10 people, blah, 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 can we come down? And I'm like, we're a new business. Like, fucking come down. Yes, please, like, whatever. And she gives me her name, and it's Heidi D'Amelio. So they walk in the front door. I don't know who these people are, and I say hi to all of them, and they're very nice. They go sit down at the table, and that lady loses her mind. Anyway, I made an ass of myself and went over to the table once I realized these girls were famous. I still don't know who they are. And I go, you know, do the whole, like, you know, Gimbo thing. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had celebrities here. And they both, like, looked at me, and I'm like, oh, no, y'all are, like, real celebrities. So that was kind of offensive. Anyway, we start blowing up on TikTok, and I still have Heidi's number in my phone. I call her. and I'm like, hey, I don't know what's happening. We just picked up like hundreds of thousands of followers, and we've got tens of millions of views at this point. And she's like, yeah, I'll hop on a call with you whenever you want. Like, let's talk about it. And so we both call her, and she's like, John, I'm gonna be honest with you. We've done the tour. We've been to Instagram headquarters. They tell us everything. Like, you go to Snapchat headquarters. We've been to all of them, all the platforms. Because we go to TikTok, they don't know what to tell you. It's like, should we only post once a day? And they're like, no, kind of do whatever you think is best. It's like, should we post early in the morning? Like, we don't really know. Like, they don't know, and it's just kind of this crazy sensation.
And I think also one of the things that was like, you know, unique, I guess, to what we were doing on TikTok is like, at least I'm definitely not like a TikTok connoisseur. My sister is for sure, and she's the one we get most of our like TikTok information from.
How old's your sister?
She's my twin.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're both 27. But
I didn't mean to inadvertently ask you your age.
No. So rude. No, it's she's like right on the bubble of like being way too old to use it consistently, but you know, like that's what she does, and she like nerds out on it. So, you know, like she was like, there really aren't many food accounts. Like there were like 3 or 4 big ones, but kind of what it seemed like they were tailoring their content to is just satisfying videos. You know, like something like the bubble video, it just like looked satisfying. You know, like a perfect bubble sitting on top of a coupe glass, and you cut it and there's smoke and whatever. But like, you know, it's not like people were like, you know, showing how to make certain things. It wasn't really like DIY, do this at home, like here's our recipe. It was kind of like an unnavigated field for restaurants and food content. Yeah. So we were just kind of like, we can do whatever we want. Like there's no roadmap for this. But
it's funny, you know, you get lucky a lot of times, or actually you don't get lucky a lot of times, but you only get as lucky as much as you have yourself out there and you've set up for that luck to show up. My grandfather always says it's funny, the luckiest guy in the room is always the one that's been working the hardest, because he creates all that opportunity for himself to actually have something happen. Yeah. And coming in here, where working for so long with guys that I don't want to use the word dinosaurs, but you know, they have a playbook for all the places that they open.
For sure.
And their playbook stems from like the early 90s, the mid 90s, and like early 2000s. And they've kind of crafted it a little bit more new age as time has gone on. And we've seen restaurants like, you know, Applebee's kind of go to zero, Fridays kind of go to zero, depending on locations, of course. And with that said, when you're coming in to do something new, and you guys are young, so you understand how much social media really holds and can gain the traction for people to pick up a place or say, hey, I want to go check that place out, or, you know, whatever it might be. And like you said, you don't know who's going to walk into this building. You don't know who's going to take a photo of what you have on the table. So it's also important, too, that, you know, we always have things that are presentable at this point. You know, back in the day, Applebee's, their, like, spec was, when you put a plate down on the table, that Applebee's logo has to be perfectly straight on top. And that was the point where, like, cameras didn't even really exist. People weren't sharing things to Instagram like that. And I think a lot of their deterioration was a part of the fact that they weren't really friendly to being photos taken of the foods that they had and the atmosphere that they were in. And that's when you start seeing a rise in this Northeast, or, you know, these areas of places that really start being developed for Instagram and photos to be taken, period.
Well, it was that, and people started wanting a better atmosphere and experience too than Applebee's.
And part of that's the understanding of seeing things online where it's like, wait, there's better places to go. We don't have to spend our $17 on a meal here. We can go to this place and get real value and like a real plate that exists. So I think a lot of guys now that have some of these older spaces and older bars and pubs are at that teetering point where they're saying, like, how do we wind up changing for this youth? And the people that are on TikTok, I don't even know what the demographic age is. You've been paying a little bit more attention to it. I
have no idea.
You know, I mean, I think, because like what you're saying is so true. And like a lot of people, you know, they rest on, you think of like the really like popular old school joints are always the places where, you know, the owners walk around, he knows everybody at every table, he knew your dad, he knows your grandson, you know, like, and I think the difference now is people still want to feel like they know you personally, but the avenues are a little bit different, the channels are a little bit different. So, you know, like we have to change with the times, you know, and more people than ever are on their phones and on their computers, especially in this period of time right now, but they're just accessing it differently. So you got to provide a little bit more for them to work with and get to know you, and Instagram's a huge platform for that. TikTok can be a huge platform for that. But
you just said it, that you're paying attention to the next generation of people that are out there, and you kind of just tied it back in with the older spots. They're going around shaking hands, saying hello, Mr. Adams, knowing everybody by first name, to now saying that, those people are going to fall off eventually at some point. They're going to be too old. They're going to be watching their funds. Maybe they're not going to be out as much. They're more fiscally responsible than the youth is. And the amount of times that I, work behind the bar at, say, like a college party bar like Black Bear, which I just watch guys endlessly throw bills on top of the table like there's a never-ending splurge of money. They have no overhead. They're not paying for anything. They're not saving for a house. They're just enjoying the time, and they would come out like 5 days a week and just throw money around. It's indispensable cash almost.
Yeah, I think though there are some good examples of like the old school joint. There's not a lot of them. There are some good examples of that older demo, that older restaurant, Cafe Sylvium in Stanford, for example. The two brothers started the restaurant, I don't know, back when Jesus was born. And then now what's cool is, I'm serious, and then now though the two sons have kind of given them this like young vibe, and they've took over Instagram, and it's hilarious. They run a great account, and they're there every day also. And you go into the place, and it's like it's a it's a total time warp, and we go there once a week if we can, and it's phenomenal. The veal scallopini with the gorgonzola cream sauce is out of this world.
Keep talking dirty. That sounds delicious.
But those guys are doing it. But I think for us, and we'd love to have the older demo, we just haven't had enough time as a brand to really get them in here. And our Insta platform being as big as it was, it's super young. And so those people come to us first. They're starting to come, and then COVID happened, and they all went home. And they came back for a minute, and now they've all gone home again. But, for us, it's really about our thing is, again, like Morgan was saying, is you got to create a face for your brand too. Or in our case, what we like to do is create multiple faces. And we take that a step further. And we have real operating partners, which is we could do a whole thing on that. And why the dinosaur restaurants aren't doing as well, why the older brands aren't doing it as well. Well, it's because you haven't given a piece to somebody and let them have a face and a seat at the table for their guests to build their rep. And I was fortunate enough, and I could also tell you the nightmare story of Fortina, but I was fortunate enough to be an owner at a young age of 29. Did I own a lot? No. Was I the face of the business with Christian? Absolutely. And did that allow me, 8-9 years later, to break off, put a little bit of capital together, bring on only one real investor who owns a very minor percentage, and then we went out and we got Mo Major, and we got Sawyer Machette, and we got JJ Hanau, who are all serious fucking restaurant people. And they're now owners too. And that's the only way that this landscape and this like cycle that you're kind of alluding to ends, by the way, where older people have money, older people build restaurant in their ideas of what a restaurant should be, and young people work for them and work in that box that they provide. Well, if we want our scene to be the coolest, we need more young restaurant people who now, when we went to do Taco Daddy, I went before the landlord, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy who did Fortina. And he's like, oh, guaranteed, this guy's a good guy. Right. I owned 8%, but like, that was my baby, and he trusted us, and he got us a spot, which is the big challenge. That's why young guys don't get their shot. And those are the guys we need to get their shot so that they do cool shit and move the industry forward.
And so with all these social platforms, obviously it's connecting people. And my sister said something which I thought was really smart actually on her Twitter a couple weeks ago that was like, if you hire the people that you trust and you are confident in them as your employee, your partner, your XYZ, you should be able to trust their content for your brand. Because if they are an extension of you, it almost always means that they're vested in this as well. And they're gonna be trying to show the best side of it to people. And even if people aren't using, let's say at the very base, they're not using Instagram to check restaurants, which I don't believe is true. I think it's now a lookbook for menu items, and that's how people search things now. But at the very least, it's a person-to-person contact. So somebody meets Sawyer in a restaurant, somebody meets our bar manager from Taco Daddy, Anthony, in a restaurant. They might go check him out on Instagram. And if he's there furthering the narrative, like pushing his content, the drinks he's creating, and it's all under the umbrella of our brand, like that can only help. It only reaches that many more people. You know what I mean? So I thought that was cool.
I do like, though, also what you just said, John, though, about you building the future with the youthful generation, which are essentially who is seeing the ideas happen, who know what's cool, because we do kind of lose touch as we have bigger things to worry about. And not to circle back into Black Bear again, of course, but, you know, I always ran the flyers for the parties that were going on there, and we created a deal with the ownership where I would just do all the graphic design stuff. And I love that, you know, you're essentially verifying ideas that I once had, too, where I said we would have so much of a bigger line outside if you let me hype the DJ up on these flyers, if you let me put his face on the flyers, if you let me design a logo for his brand, because these are our in-house guys. Correct. And the biggest fear was, oh no, you're crazy if you won't think I'm. He was Irish. Oh, you're crazy if you think I'm gonna put his face on the flyer, because then he's gonna want $350 for the weekend. And I was like, that's your biggest concern? You'd outpace that amount of money if we build a guy that has a name. And you know, if you want to talk about going back years, Thirsty Turtle, which was like the only club-ish spot in this like Westchester area pretty much, those guys would be bringing in big DJs nonstop. And the DJs would only get bigger as the in-house guys would consistently show up to these places. So like, I do think it's super important to be building out a face. You know, you're not the only face. There's a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, there's two issues going on. Like, the old school guy who's not going to promote his brand well because the DJ's gonna want $50 more for the weekend he's burying himself, right? The other evil, and they've been a necessary evil for a long time in our industry, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway because it's just true, and they've gotten more equity as the deals have gone on, especially in Fairfield County and Westchester, is the real estate and banker guys and the private equity guys who all, listen, I want you to come eat here. I just don't want you to have any part of my business. And at Taco Daddy and Lila, we can say that with full confidence. We don't wake up in the morning and worry about having an investor meeting or some new ideas. Like, oh, you gotta have Sambuca on the menu. Why? For you? I gotta have Sambuca on the menu at Taco Daddy? For you? Because I don't even have espresso over there right now.
And those guys don't belong, though, in the restaurant operations side.
They do not belong in the business, period. The people who belong in the business are the operators and the people who put in the time and sweat and really move the business. If you don't put those people in the first class, you're eventually going to lose the brand.
It would be like donating money to a hospital and then trying to tell someone how to perform surgery.
Correct.
Obviously, it's a much larger scale, but it's kind of like,
I think that does happen to some effect.
It does.
Right.
100%.
It's got to.
So, I mean, our big goal is this, and it is a dream at this point, but like I said a couple minutes ago, we were able to do and sit where we are and have two cool brands at a very crazy time in the world, but we have two cool brands that came from us and our partners, and we get to go do that every day because I had to go through the fire with Fortina and that whole experience, and dealing with a bunch of knucklehead stuff towards the end, which prompted me and Morgan to go and look for new spaces, which took us 2 years to do and get out from underneath that. But really what we need to be talking about is how do restaurant people get other cool chefs, other cool operators, opportunities to own their own businesses. And, you know, what we plan to do here with SOK and what we did with Lila was brought JJ, and I'm like, dude, we're getting real equity in this thing. And we're also going to market you as an owner of this thing. We're not going to call you a partner and not talk about you as a partner. Same thing with Mo. Like, Mo, our job is to make sure that your face and your name is out there so that if some point somebody comes to you with a better deal, right, than the one I'm giving you, and they say, hey, dude, you're going to get 60% of this business, then we've done our jobs. Because that's going to make our food scene, that's going to make our bar scene the best around, is when restaurant people invest in other restaurant people and allow them to their star to shine a little bit. So
I like that tactic, too, because it gives everybody a sense of pride and, like,
sense of ownership.
Yeah, a sense of ownership. So if you're doing something, like, I'm not just doing it for my boss or because I have to get a paycheck or something. I'm doing it because I'm part of it. It's going to help me out.
I don't have to go to Mo and say, hey, dude, we got a hood inspection coming on Monday, which actually happened this Monday, right? It's his day off. And I didn't tell Mo because I wanted him there. Mo texted me at like 10 a.m. Hey, dude, do you know where this guy is? He was already here. He was already doing that work. Same thing with JJ. JJ's day off Sunday, Monday. You can bet. I haven't asked him to once. He's here in his restaurant Sunday and Monday, hanging out, talking to people, and having coffee and having breakfast here.
We actually had to ask him to take a day off. Like, we were like, dude,
That's a testament to you, though, also, both of you, to be able to find that talent and be able to put that trust in people. Because how many people do you...
Even before that, it's the environment that you create, because you're not going to have people want to come and be a part of this unless you're fostering that sort of environment for them.
100%. I mean, and you have to take the controls off a little bit too. You know, like I might have an idea of how I want a cocktail to be or what I want in theory, and I can promise you if I really want something to get done, they'll do it. But at the same time, the game is a lot more fun if we're all like operating from the same place. Hey, what do people want? What looks cool? What tastes great? Bring that to the table. And I'm telling you, we were very tight on Taco Daddy's beverage program when it opened. About 2 months into it, Anthony was running that thing and coming with ideas every single day because, again, we were like, all right, you know what you're doing. I know what tastes good. She knows what tastes good. We could get you there, but it's a whole lot more healthy and a whole lot more fun to have people coming with new ideas and going, this is cool. I think this is cool. I think this is cool. And us give maybe minor critiques. You know, working with Mo and JJ as partners has been such a pleasure because in both cases, the restaurants got better without our input. And that's something you can't pay a guy $200,000 a year and he doesn't have a piece of it. That's not going to happen for you in most cases.
What I was going to say before I was busy over here just fucking myself was that there's so many people in relationships that just choose the wrong partner. They have an eye for just choosing the wrong partner every single time. And for what you guys have done here, though, in finding these guys that are hard workers, like, at what point did you decide, though, that these guys had those characteristics of what we need to really build up and build out?
A couple of things. I mean, and I'll answer, and you can answer too. Is I think for us, we hired to get Taco Daddy open. I was shopping the same deal pre-opening that I did, you know, once we finally got Mo. But everybody was kind of, all the chefs I'd go to and like, dude, and they're name guys. They're dudes, you know, and I'd say to them, hey, dude, I'm gonna give you a cut of this, and we're gonna do this. We knew we wanted to do this spot, so I was like, and then the next one, and then in 2 years your equity doubles. I was shopping that deal, and everybody said no. So we already knew.
Back them on a concept of their own.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I know personally that I can get a dish to be right. It'll take me 3 to 5 times as long for it to be on the menu. It'll take me a day. It'll take Mo an hour. And so once COVID hit, you know, and we went through the lockdown, and then patios reopened. Well, everybody was, I think, scared of the same thing. Are they going to come back? They didn't just come back. They came back and were willing to wait 2 hours for a table. Yeah. And at that point, I'm on Expo, and that's not what I do. I'm an operator, right? But I'm not a huge fan of Expo. I become a villain. I'm the worst person in the world on Expo. I just instantly turn into the worst person in the world.
I've seen a lot of monsters on the line.
Yeah, I bet. And so I hit up Indeed, our girl Christina, who was amazing, and shout out to Indeed. And we put out an ad for a chef. Well, of course, the whole state of New York is still shut down. Everybody's unemployed, and this is funny how we got to Mo. Pre-opening of Taco Daddy, I went on Facebook and put in the search bar Taco. And so every employee that worked for Bar Taco started populating. And I was like, I just need a dude who knows how to do tacos. I don't know how to do tacos. Like, I've never done tacos. I know what I want them to taste like, and Mo was one of the guys. And so I added him as a friend, and then for probably 6 months, I'd follow him on Facebook, and he was saying some funny and interesting stuff. And then when his resume, and I'll tell you this, along with 130 other resumes came through in one day, I was like, I know that dude. And we sat down. I called him on a Wednesday. We sat down on a Friday. That interview went on for like 2 hours. We cooked then for like another hour. And then I didn't even put in the ad partner. I was like, dude, I want to make you my partner.
Break Mo down quickly. I believe he had something going on with Food Network at some point, right?
Yeah, Mo's a Chop champion. He's a huge personality. He's built for TV. He's one of the few guys, I say this, I think all chefs have like a shelf life for their motor. We've all kind of seen it. It's hard to stay in this grind every day and consistently be good. He's like, I always say he's like Ray Lewis if he were your chef. Like, that's the kind of energy he brings. It's loud, it's fun. The team is motivated. He's hyping everybody up. It literally leveled us up, I would say, by 100x when he joined the team. 100x. And yeah, he's going to be doing some more stuff with Food Network, some more stuff with Guy Fieri, And yeah, man, our goal is to make Mo known for being one of the top dudes in the area, because he is.
Awesome.
Not to reference Tony Robbins and pillars of success, but through restaurants too, when you've figured out a team that works and everyone's kind of just perfect, harmonizing with each other, and you really feel that energy when you walk into a room, is kind of what you're just describing to me. It seems like he was that last pillar to help build that team up to where it needed to be.
For sure. And it allowed us to go kind of back to what we do, which is what we're good at, which is like, you know, we're constantly just like tweaking the whole thing. You're constantly trying to like advance yourself, change yourself a little bit, reinvent yourself, and it's hard to do that when you're on the pass. It's hard to do that when she's got a baby in a stroller and we're walking around the dining room where she's 8 months pregnant. Like, we needed Mo to come in and shore up Taco Daddy so that we could go do what we're actually very good at, you know, and talk to people and hang out with guests and do those things to create special moments with guests. So, yeah, 100%.
Talk to me about Taco Daddy and the transition of leaving Fortina into coming into Taco Daddy, where we just said it last week. You don't just open up a spot with no plans. You have some type of plan, some type of rubric.
Yep.
I've got pitch decks for days with different bar concepts, right?
You're
And
asking and he's laughing, and I feel like I'm missing out on like
No. The story is wild.
So let me hype up the story
Sorry,
a
I'm
little
sorry,
bit and
go
just
ahead,
do
I'm
what I
sorry,
do
go
over here, okay? No, but nobody just opens up a spot without some type of plan. So at some point, you looked at each other and you said, babe, whichever one is calling who babe, let's open up a spot of our own. Let's do it.
So I'll start. He was a restaurant owner. I was not. I was managing restaurants at the time. And, he always said, when you want to leave and do your own space, I'll help you. You know, like, still going to keep one foot in Fortina, but definitely whatever you got going on, like, as my partner, like, he was like, whatever you need, I've done this before, I can help you, business side, whatever. And we're restaurant nerds. All we do is talk about food and beverage, hospitality. We come up with restaurant concepts constantly. I've got a really dope kebab concept he won't let me do, but But yet. I think it would be great as a food truck, but we can talk about that another time. So we were talking about it a lot, and I left Fortina before he did. Obviously, it was a little bit easier for me as an employee. He's a partner, co-founder, owner. So when I left, I started talking about it a lot. I had a little bit of downtime, and then I missed it, and I wanted to do it again. And I think he was in a place, which he can tell you a little bit more about, where he was ready to do something different. And again, he had the investor umbrella hanging over him every day. And I think, you can talk more about that, but.
Sure. I mean, Fortina won when we did it with Chris and myself, and it was special. And I don't know if any of you guys have been to them, or especially Armonk, when that happened, when Rybrook came on, and then Stanford was really like, to me, like, oh shit, we did something crazy here. Like, we built something people really love. And it was super fun, and I don't want anyone to get it, this screwed up at all. That was super rewarding, and I learned a lot. I worked with Barcelona and Bartaco before that and learned a lot there, but doing your own thing is very different. And the flip side of that is we felt like we were doing our own thing. Everyone was minding their P's and Q's, and Christian wanted to do something on the creative side, cool. John wanted to do something on the ops side, or people-wise, I always said I was HR, ops, the numbers end of it. That was it. Those are the two places. Well, of course, things get big, money gets bigger. All of a sudden, the investor guys who haven't been involved in this early success and haven't built this business, now they want a place at the table. Now they want to create a board, and they want to vote on everything that used to be your thing, your baby, your little piece of clay that you can play with and make whatever you want.
Is that an aspect of getting too big too quickly? Also,
there's something to that. I think though, had we kept doing what we were doing, I mean, at least comp wise, at least like year over year sales, like we were a super attractive brand to private equity and everything. I mean, we had all these offers coming in, but the investor side didn't want to be kicked out from the table. The reality is this: private equity comes in and they don't go, we want to buy you and all the investors. No, they go, we want Chris and John. We're going to give everybody a check to go home, and then we're going to take this to the next level. And we had a deal in place for 25 new units that they they crushed. And it really was a thing about, we want to be at the table. We want to keep growing this our way. Friends and family, you don't grow into a national brand. It's just never going to happen. And that's not really where our head's at with Taco Daddy at all. And we're much more focused on just being in Stanford. But going from Fortina to this, once that started to happen, it takes the love out of what you're doing. When you feel like you wake up every day and you get to do what you want to do and what you think is going to work, and you get to fail and you get to have successes, that's motivation. That's what gets us going every day. Is those little challenges, those little victories that we all have, and again, addressing those failures that we have. But when that's taken from you and it goes to a board, and it just got weird, man. It just got really weird. And it was at that point when that happened, I said to Morgan, I came home one night and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But I got alimony to pay, and so I got to ride this thing out until we have our own thing going. And so we looked. We kept looking at real estate. We kept looking at projects. And we were living at 111, which is right behind Taco Daddy. And we used to come to Harlan, and we used to come to Asian Bistro, which is what the Lila Rose is. Harlan was the restaurant before Taco Daddy. And it was a very buttoned-up, stuffy American gastropub. And
You're talking about Harlan Public?
Harlan Social, same guys.
Yeah.
Stephen Lewandowski, who, to his credit, brought a high-end gastro experience, American gastro experience, to Fairfield County before anyone did. So I mean, it just yeah, and the neighborhood changed. You had Starwood's headquarters was right across the parking lot. That banker, that spend that they had every night, the suits coming in. That all went away when Starwood went out. And this neighborhood got super young. And so we said we could do something cool here if this ever came up. And we got friendly with the building manager. And I said to him, listen, we're moving. Went and did a stint elsewhere for about 6 months. I said, but if anything ever comes up on this side of town, which is so boring and so dead, let us know. We'd be very interested. We get a phone call on my birthday. And it was like, hey, do you want to come look at Harlan Social? And I'm like, I heard the Asian place was out. They're like, yeah, Harlan's out too. And I'm like, yeah, we want to go look at that. And this is like, I'm at the end of my rope with Fortina and everything that's going on there. And we came and looked, and, we put on a good face. We said, we're probably going to want to take the whole block. Meanwhile, we don't have money to take the whole block.
Talk that shit.
And for a security deposit, we took over Harlan. And what was kind of crazy is obviously I didn't want to lose my income coming from Fortina. But I signed a bad deal when I was 29 years old because I just wanted to have my own restaurant, quote unquote. And in that deal, it says, yeah, you can do outside projects. It just doesn't, you don't have to kick back the Fortina. It's in there. And but what I didn't read, like 2 clauses below, which is we can also terminate your contract with no cause at any point in time. So while Morgan was really going to run Taco Daddy and do Taco Daddy, and I was going to help in whatever capacity I could, I was still going to keep what was going on over there. Well, of course, the CT Bites article comes out, and I love you, Stephanie, so don't take offense. Please write a review about Lila Rose. And in there it says John Nealon and Morgan Machette are opening up Taco Daddy. At which point, I was like, oh, shit. So here we go. And there was immediately the next day I got an email for a meeting. They put termination papers in front of me. Well. But hang on, here's the joke, right? This is a real estate dude handing me papers telling me that I'm being fired without cause because I'm doing this project, which on paper I'm not. It's all in Morgan's name. Morgan owns Taco Daddy and the Lila Rose. And this guy, meanwhile, has his hands in about 12 different pots, from real estate to different restaurants, to all this other stuff. But we can't. The guys who did Fortina, the founders of this business that you make 1% of every month, we can't have a side deal? You tell me that's not a little bit crazy?
But not to mention the fact that we were starting to get a little, because we were like trying to figure out how best to like go about this. I open the restaurant, he helps, I run it. I was 6.5 months pregnant, so we knew at some point we were either going to have to train the shit out of somebody or he was going to have to help in a bigger capacity. And as we're like, we're solidifying the deal, we've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, we get an email from the same real estate guy saying, Harlan's up, we should take this spot. What do you boys want to do? What, do you want to, let's figure out a concept to go in there. And John was like, I just got to be silent on this. I can't say anything. Like, we were so close, and we were like, the last thing we need is this guy to swoop in and be like, blow it all up.
We're at the 2-yard line. We've had numerous deals fall through, and of course, somebody from the restaurant side, not the landlord side, reached out and said, "Hey, for key money, you can come in and take the place over." And now we're dealing direct with the landlord, right? So I'm thinking I'm paranoid as is, right? And I'm like, I call the landlord. I'm like, "Dude, am I being fucked with over here? Like, what's going on?" And sure enough, waited a few days and the lease wasn't signed yet. So I didn't want to say anything until the lease was signed. It wasn't even really my deal. It was Morgan's deal. Wouldn't be fair to tell him, oh, yeah, Morgan's actually taking this thing before the lease is signed. The second the lease is signed, I write an email. Hey, guys, just want to let you know Morgan's actually taking that space, blah, 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 blah. But to be real with you, and me and Chris are actually closer than we've probably ever been now. It was tough there for a minute for both of us. But I will say this, like, I've never had more fun working in the business. Fortina included, Barcelona, like go back all the way back to the snack bars in high school. I've never had as much fun working in this business as I am working with Morgan, working with Mo, working with Sawyer, working with JJ, and our whole collective team here. And that's truly because there's no outside element. It's all us. We're all in the same boat. There's not some other boat out there, aka some real estate guy.
Yeah, we don't
right?
have to have a meeting and pick it up.
Who's going to come in and say, why don't you put Brussels sprouts back on the menu? You go, I don't want to put Brussels sprouts back on the menu. We don't have to go to his table and kiss the ring 50 times. Yeah. We're all in this together. And like that's I keep going back to that, and anybody who'll listen, I'll say it to, is like, that's got to be the focus of our industry, is getting people who are talented and have cool ideas, opportunities, and then making sure that we support them. We put the full force of all of our food contacts and bloggers and all that stuff behind those people and allow people to go see their thing and not make it this thing that's dominated by the publications, by Moffley, by whoever's got a big enough bankroll to put up $5,000 a quarter to put a magazine article in and to get recognized as whatever. So anyway.
Adversely, to saying that, yeah, your whole team's in-house, we're all the influence, that could be bad for some guys. Not in this case, I don't think. But some guys that are just maybe one owner in the place, whose livelihood is that one single place, who's stuck in that place every single night, they have no idea what the fuck is going on outside at all. And as other restaurants are doing new things and the trends are changing, they miss that boat. But, from what I've seen throughout social media is all your guys are outside investigating and seeing what's happening in all the other spots. And that's like almost, you've created an army that's going to keep ahead of the trend.
Yeah, I would agree. That's one of my hardest challenges, put in the amount of hours we have to put in at the store, is I have to say, just to keep on trends, as part of, like, we were talking about Instagram and TikTok, and spend half an hour a day just scrolling through other restaurants, seeing what they're doing, but actually getting to other restaurants when it's not, after service or, lunchtime on a Monday when I have time. That's definitely the hardest thing. And we've actually just gave, like, our managers like an expense account to do that. Like, go take your wife out for dinner, and
you got it. But also, I think we're Taco Daddy and Lila have been, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but our mentality, and even back at Fortina, was similar. Is let's not find out what everyone else thinks is cool. Let's do what we think is cool. And I think that shows up a lot more than if I go out and, let's say, I go look at whatever hot, Alex Stupak's taco concept in this city, which is one of our favorite restaurants to go to. But go to Alex Stupak's place, and then I come back to my place and I go, we got to do it this way.
It's already been done
at
that
point.
point.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come in and be like, that's cool. If we go in and we do a crunch wrap, because nobody's doing a crunch wrap, but we like crunch wraps. When we make crunch wraps delicious and made properly with good ingredients.
Keep talking dirty.
People
look really good.
But they feel that. Like, we saw this. How many restaurants did we see imitate the Big Mac? Whether it was a deli or it was whatever, they all did
or
that.
Or the chicken sandwich that went out.
Yeah, I think there's something to like familiarity and putting your own riff on familiarity. That's cool.
Yeah, when I go to the restaurant, I try, just like you said, I want to copy, because I feel like you go to another restaurant, they're doing it. If it's working well for them, then you just copy the same thing. It's like, oh, they're doing whatever so and so did. I try to spend more time looking around the people and seeing what kind of things they're reacting to. Right. So then you could say, okay, I saw them do this, I saw them do that. They reacted a certain way to, a cocktail or something like that. But then you can work on that specific thing, not necessarily the thing that they're doing, but what's gaining the reaction from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, one of the ways, like, we take inspiration from everywhere. And we're definitely not like reinventing the wheel in certain cases, you know, like we're doing like what works, what people like. Yeah, we're trying to put out new stuff, and thankfully a lot of it is hit. But you know, like that's always subject to change. People's preferences tend to change like that. But what hasn't really seemed to change is like, you know, how people react to being taken care of. And, you know, we always do this exercise with our staff, like name the 3 places you go to the most. And it's always some place that they know the people or they go all the time. Like it's that familiarity. And if we can bring that through in food and cocktails, in our hospitality, that tends to be the biggest win. But for someone like you who like, you know, is saying that you're trapped a little bit more and you don't necessarily like get to go out and see like what's going on here, what's going on there. Like I think we try and utilize our team a lot for that. You know, we have 3 kids and the 2 restaurants where we're not doing a whole lot, but like, you know, I think most restaurant people are probably pretty type A and pretty much like to be, if not controlling, at least understanding the direction something's going. And I think to an extent you have to let go a little bit and let these people be your eyes, or, you know, I'm the first one to admit what I'm not good at. And that's why I was talking about my sister so much earlier, is like, she's very good at branding and she's very ahead of the trends on social. And I just call her and I'm like, what are you seeing? Like, what's working, what's not? Because I'm not good at that. And I don't have the time to look at it. But if I can utilize someone who does, like, that's a strength too, you know? So
being ahead of the trend is, I think, at least in my eyes, one of the most important things you could potentially do. Almost, and also it could be a bad thing being ahead, because then you have to wait for the trend to catch up to you before people decide that, all right, it's for them. That Smokehouse logo, I designed that how many years back now? 2 years back? You're not going to change that logo anytime soon.
Don't pat yourself on the back.
I'm not patting myself on
You
the back.
say you designed it.
We did.
I mean,
we put an S and an H, and we presented like
Yeah.
5 different things around, right?
Was
As
it-
simple as it is, though, it's something that doesn't really go stale, and you don't have to change it as much. And I think you've designed these restaurants kind of almost ahead of the trend also, where if you walk into the bathroom, how many bathroom photos are all over the internets from these 2 locations right here?
I know
think
it's on my feed
arguable
all day,
there's
actually.
more bathroom photos than there actually are food photos.
I agree with that.
I've definitely seen the bathroom before I saw anything
Yeah.
of the bar or the food or
We
any of
did
that.
that intentionally, you
Yeah.
know, like it's so sorry. It's so funny, like, you know, we it's not the most important thing, you know. It doesn't matter how cool your bathrooms are. If your food sucks, your cocktails suck, your team sucks, like people don't feel the love when they walk in your room, bathrooms don't matter. But if you can nail all the rest, that's just another box you get to tick. And, you know, like we have a Hello Gorgeous neon sign in Lila, and you know, when we first opened, we had taken a couple pictures with it, posted somewhere, and people were walking in and they were just like, where's the sign? You know, like that's what they wanted to know. They wanted that picture. And it's like, it's just crazy how people's experience has changed. The people aren't just going out because they want to like eat something. They want the whole package now.
It's crazy how long it took people to realize that the bathrooms, though, are also such a staple. Growing up as a kid, my grandmother would always come back from the bathroom and tell my mother, Deb, you gotta go to the bathroom. Go check out the bathroom.
Right.
It's so nice. Check the bathroom out.
Yeah.
And like that's been forgotten about, and nobody really gives a shit about it until they realize that, all right, this is a great opportunity space for social media. They've got their privacy. They can take as many photos as they
Right.
want. Nobody's really bothering them. They don't feel judged. Now it just sits on the internet. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's free advertising.
My dad was always
Right.
big on paper towels.
Paper towels.
He
like,
judged
there
the whole
wasn't
thing
enough.
by the quality of the paper towels.
That's so funny. I remember going, like, I grew up in, like, a nicer area, but we were, like, as middle class as it gets, you know? And I remember always going to my friend's houses, like, your bathrooms are so nice. And I was a kid. Like, I don't care about your bathroom. I don't care about, like, the potpourri you have in a pot. But, like, I was like, that is so cool. And, like, I don't know. That is something I think that still sticks with people. And it is, like, the privacy. Like, you can't go into someone's, like, living room and, like, check everything out. But you're in the bathroom, you're like, what's in this cabinet? Like, what's over here? Like, you have that time.
Yeah, and I mean, but let's all be real too. It's like, it's not the bathroom; it's the women's bathroom that matters. I mean, there's no picture of me in the bathroom, you know, taking my selfie or like doing my little like video in all the different mirrors.
It would be bad for business.
It would probably be bad for business. But I mean, you do. I mean, I don't know. We're a little more. I don't even want to say progressive, but when it comes to like realizing that like women are super important in restaurant spaces, and we should cater to their aesthetic a little bit. We should keep them front of mind a little bit, especially right now. You know, there's no corporate dining going on right now. There's no like, you know, 20-person suited and booted Swiss Re dinner you're going to have on Wednesday night. That just doesn't exist anymore. But there are girl gangs going out every night of the week.
Actually, what you were saying and then what you followed up with is so true. Like, you know, giving yourself as many opportunities for success as possible, like, and free advertising. Like, again, margins in restaurants are so small. We don't have the time. Like, who are we going to pay to advertise for us? And, like, where does that even go right now? What does that look like? Is that them running our social accounts? Are we putting it in a newspaper? Like, if we can get girls, guys, doesn't matter, to, like, take pictures in our space and further that exposure to our restaurant, like, that's just giving us more opportunities for someone to see it and someone to want to come in and try it, and for us to, you know, build a regular out of that person. So
Can we circle back into the Taco Daddy concept and how long maybe you were working on that before you actually made that jump as far as ideas? I mean, I know Morgan did all of that, but how long ahead of time was it that you were putting together maybe menu type concepts and things that you thought maybe worked together before chef said, all right, this works, this works, this works. No, can that one, and that's not profitable, or you know, something.
So we actually
That profitable thing never occurred to chef.
Yeah, I feel that way.
So we actually, you know, before all this was happening, when I had first left Fortina, he was looking to get out of Fortina. We were looking at doing like a ghost kitchen concept. Like, labor is, you know, one of the things you spend the most money on in a restaurant. Let's get rid of that. We'll pay kitchen staff only, and then we could basically utilize all these third parties, you know, Uber Eats or DoorDash, to deliver our food to people.
Don't say Uber Eats in front of Justin.
He's got strong feelings about it.
I think everyone in the restaurant industry has strong feelings about them at this point. But, you know, we were like things are changing, and little did we know how much they would change. It's probably what we should have done. But we came up with a ton of concepts, whether it was like a burger concept, a taco concept. And with tacos, we were like, you know, we're not authentic. Like, we can't put together an authentic Mexican restaurant. Like, you know, we would look ridiculous. Somebody would always have something to say. Like, you know, we're not from Oaxaca. Like, that makes no sense for us to do authentic. So we were like, you know, tacos can be treated the same as pizza. You can put anything on them. Everything works in a shell. You know, like, you can put familiar flavors. We have a cheeseburger taco over there. It's one of our, like, #1 bestsellers. You know, just something that people recognize, but in a form of food that people like to eat. And John was actually the one who kept calling it Taco Daddy, this ghost kitchen idea. He was like, we'll call it Taco Daddy. We'll call it Taco Daddy. I was like, don't you fucking dare. We're not calling it Taco Daddy. I'm like, do you know how much, like, that would get bastardized? Like, people would make jokes. Like, we're not calling it Taco Daddy.
Did he say it so many times, though, where it just sounded like it worked eventually, too?
Yeah, eventually we just called it Taco Daddy, and everybody loved it, and yeah, here we are. But I don't think that wasn't our plan for Harlan when we first looked at the space. I think we had a narrow window of time to get it open, and I mean, you could probably talk more about that because we just went for it.
I mean, so you talked about ahead of the trend, and you talked about how, you know, that's important and all that stuff. One of the things that limits restaurants, and I'm still surprised that we still see them popping up, which is these umbrella cuisines that you see opening up. Like, you don't need to open an Italian restaurant anymore. You don't need to open a Mexican restaurant anymore. They should exist. They're great. They're all those things. But if you truly want to be able to stay with the trend, or you truly want to be able to jump on that next thing, it's silly for us. I mean, this was always limiting at Fortina, where we were like kind of this Bronx Italian thing that we had going on, and red sauce joint, and like we called it all these different things. But what happened in year 4? Well, poke became the hottest thing on planet Earth, right? And how stupid would we, even though we knew we should do it, how stupid would it be if a wood-fired Bronx red sauce Italian joint, hey, oh, how you doing? That whole thing, that's our whole thing. Now we got a poke bowl on the menu. You look kind of dumb. But if you've got a concept that's not tied to cuisine, which neither of our restaurants are, we have a tapas format and we have a taco format, and now it's kind of evolved into Crunchwraps and that whole bit. But we play all over the world, and we just put, like we used to say, we just put delicious, familiar things that we know work inside of a taco. Now, one other point on this, because you talk about the trends. Well, when we did a lot of this pre-Taco Daddy, which is with Uber Eats, with Grubhub, with any of these delivery apps. Well, they're all data nerds, right? And what do they all love to do? They all love to show you their lists. and they all like to tell you, like, these are the top 20 things that sold in 2018. Well, we went right on there, and we took all those lists, and we go, oh, shit, Reuben, cheeseburgers, obviously. What were some of the other? Just all of it's right there. Go to Goldbelly. Look at Goldbelly. What are these people so confident that they can sell across the country? And all that data, for the first time in the history of our industry, is being just like given up for their marketing, essentially. And so we try and pay attention to that stuff. In fact, we just had a meeting 2 days ago with the whole team about it, and how we're going to be prepared for, if we do have to go takeout only, how we're going to tailor those nights of the week, those family meals that we do, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, and then the other side of Taco Daddy, the concept is like, we've both been in the bar business. We've both been around really cool cocktail programs. We just kind of felt like it was all getting a little too educational, and we've all been lucky enough to be around like sort of that, prohibition style change. And I was
the mixologist movement.
Right, the mixologist movement and all that stuff.
First word.
Right, and we all saw that, but at the end of the day, we want a Taco Daddy's menu to be delicious. Like, I want you to walk out and feel like you had a refreshing cocktail. And yeah, we can use all those cool like techniques and things that we've learned over the years, but at the end of the day, that cocktail hits the table, it tastes refreshing, it's delicious, and there's no artichoke liqueur in it that you have to explain away. Like, that's kind of the whole concept, and let's make it fun. Let's make this place a fun place that people want to go.
In talking next door, in talking to Anthony at Taco Daddy too about the drinks in general too, I said that I can't even think about really one place, two places that have a cocktail list of 40 cocktails on that thing as like part of the in-house design. I said, how do you even accomplish that without absolutely driving bartenders right out from behind the bar?
Yeah.
You want to make things as simple to streamline it, so when you get to space 2, 3, 4, you could just duplicate it over and over again. But he said, well, we batch a lot of these cocktails, so it's a little bit less effort to add whatever's needed at the end to actually complete the cocktail, which is great.
For sure.
But like,
same thing here.
It's huge to see these menus that you guys are kind of just conquering left and right, and people are taking onto it. You're seeing it through the Instagram. You're seeing it through the TikTok. What was that? 500,000 followers or shabby 355?
Only.
We'll go with 5.
But it's amazing to see this happen, and it's amazing to see it kind of come together in the way it did. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about Lila Rose, and I think that we should have a little bit of a break here, and then we'll follow up into the Lila Rose, and we'll talk more about things happening next week.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, because algorithms.